My name's Troy Kinne. We just worked out today, actually. I've been doing comedy for 14 years. I did my first ever gig, raw comedy, in 2004. Believe it or not, I got into stand-up comedy because my main passion has always been filmmaking, making funny videos. When I was in high school, we'd steal the video camera from the library and make sketches, essentially, and then just show them to class, and our English teacher would let us show them, because he was into it too. And then when I started stand-up comedy, it was basically so I could meet other people who were into making videos. I didn't expect to keep doing stand-up until, I just do it until I met some people who wanted to make video stuff. But here we are, 14 years later, and stand-up is my bread and butter. Labouring for a landscape gardening company was my job, which led into stand-up. I would work and think of jokes during the day while I was just doing shitty things like digging holes or whatever. I'd get in trouble because it looked like I was texting my phone, but I was putting joke ideas in. Then at night I'd do 5-minute spots all around, Melbourne and stuff. The best part is probably, at the start, it's the travel. Then you get a bit hoity-toity, like, oh, I'm sick of flying on planes. I heard myself say that the other day. My friend really cracked the shits at me. So, oh, you poor thing, you got to get up and go on a plane, dude. But I think it is getting to go, like, just this weekend I've gone to Hervey Bay, I've gone to Noosa, places I might have gotten to go to, if I planned a holiday and stuff, but I've gotten to go to these places and essentially get paid to go there. So if I could just get a family or someone to love me, I could share those experiences. I didn't realise there's someone there watching that. My first gig was the Triple J Raw Comedy Competition, and I was in the Geelong one, which is a good hour and a bit from Melbourne. And believe it or not, my first gig was as a duo with the guy who I did the Retrovision job with, guy I did radio with, and we were sort of trying to be, a bit Hamish and Andy like, and sort of luckily for me, he ended up moving back to the town of Sale soon after that gig, which is an indication of how well it went. And then that's when I was sort of felt on my own, couldn't do radio with him anymore, and that's when I gave stand-up a crack in the Triple J Raw Comedy Comp. And at that competition, when I did it for myself for the first time, which was in Brunswick, there was other comedians there. I remember they were Sammy J, John Burgos, Charlie Pickering, and just talking to them after, they said, are you from Sydney or somewhere? Because I haven't seen you around. I said, no, I'm from Melbourne. They said, oh, where you been doing gigs? Oh, no, that's the first time I've done it. And they went, that's your first time? Well, you got to come here. So they gave me business cards. Back then we used to use, and helped me get gigs at the Comics Lounge and things like that. So it was sort of lucky I hung around and tried to talk to people. I probably wouldn't do that these days. Easily the worst gig I've done was at a Bucks party in a suburb called Sunshine. And the guy on the phone told me, it's going to be a great bunch of blokes. They're going to be all fired up. You'll have a ball. And I thought, well, this will be easy. I think I was getting $150. Drove out there, and I go in there, and it was 4 guys in a shed. 4. And I said, well, which one's the buck? And the buck was in bed asleep because they'd all gone out the night before. And they go and bang on his window, I've got a comedian for you. And you just told him to piss off because he was sleeping. So I just stood there, told jokes to these 4 guys. I'm literally in the middle of the first joke, the one where I got to seal the deal. The home phone rings and the dad goes in to get it, and he calls the brother because the phone's for him. So before I finish my first joke, my audience has been halved into 2 people. And one of them was a grandpa who just didn't know what was going on. So, I mean, I know you want to hear a story of me bombing and going, but that's easily the worst I've felt doing a gig. I was like, how am I supposed to keep doing this? And like the whole time I could see my car on the side of the street in my peripheral vision. I just thought about literally sprinting to my car and leaving. But $150, unfortunately, meant a lot to me back then, as it does now. Favourite comedian, that's a tough one. I know when I started, definitely Dave Hughes was my inspiration. When I used to buy Hughesy's CDs and stuff, I thought he was a little something different to the others, and I thought I could probably be the same. Like when he's just himself, if I could manage to just be myself the way I am around my friends, I reckon I could have a crack at it. So him definitely. And since starting, just He's still my favourite, but since starting, just friends that I've met, like Tom Seagate is one of my favourites to watch. And in going to America a couple of times, I've started to love people like, there's a guy called Dov Davidoff, who I've been lucky enough to do a couple of gigs with. He's a known, he does lots, but I'm just surprised he's not more known, because he's just so much fun to watch. I was at the Improv, first time I saw him was at the Improv in Los Angeles, and it was one of those nights where they keep putting people on, and it's like midnight, and people started like, all right, let's sneak out, while the next one comes on. They called him on, and he made the room sound like it was 8 p.m. again, and it was full of 500 people. It just went berserk. And he's probably one of the most inspiring ones I've seen. Yeah, Dov Davidoff, look him up. Highlight of my career so far, probably I did 4 shows sold out only a couple of years ago at the Athenaeum Theatre, which seats 1,000. And I always thought, when I used to go and watch, like I watched Tuesday there the year before, and I thought, I'll surely never get to the point where I'm doing a show in here. And the fact I did 4 sold out there was so good. And I'm sure I could do it again if I just wrote another show. But that's another story. But strangely enough, another highlight along with that, and this might be a bit weird to some people, especially the younger people, is I got to support Michael Winslow, who was the guy from the Police Academy movies who did all the sound effects, who when I was in high school was like God to me. He was like the funniest thing ever. And it was so hard when I met him and got to go on before him. Then afterwards he was like, said to me, he goes, man, you got it, man. You got to keep at this. And it was like, I couldn't convey to him how obsessed with him I was when I was a kid. Thanks so much, Sit Down Comedy Club, for having me for approximately my 9th encore show, I believe it is. If you want to see more of my stuff, troykinne.com. And Kinne Tonight is coming to Channel 10 in May. Make sure you switch over to free-to-air TV. Netflix is a thing of the past. Who's watching that?